Okay, so here's where we left our residential project. I have already posted that video about how to add the tags for the windows and the doors. And we're moving forward to basically now adding floors. But before we add the floors, to be able to look at them and verify them with ease, remember that in your assignment, you're actually required to provide this sheet, 5 of 5, showing the typical section somewhere in the front where we have the stone veneer, and also another section in the garage where it shows the floor of the garage and the reference from the floor to the top of the foundation and so forth. So since we have to do this anyways, I am going to actually start by generating this section, and I can modify it, the location and the depth and whatnot as needed. So that would be under the View tab in here, and right below it says Generate or Create a Section View. And I'm going to come in here, kind of like line it here manually, is I am going to go through the window, and you can go as deep as you like, but we are going later on. We will actually adjust the depth, just like you see here. This is how deep through you are seeing and how far the section is actually going. We can look at the section and open it, section view. So here, section, building section. Now it is minimized. So we're going to maximize it and select it. Number 1, here it is. I'm going to change as usual to my level, the detail level to medium. And of course, you are going to submit in the visual style of hidden lines or the graphics display option here as basically hidden lines. I like to look at it while I'm working into the shaded part, and you can see all that detail. That's not really anything close to this here, but we can adjust it. So like I said, you will change that when you submit, when you print, when you upload your file. So here I'm first going to start with the cropping, is I don't want to see anything beyond in here. And in here also, I don't want to see anything beyond that first part. But still, I am looking at this roof. That would be the porch roof, and even behind it there, the roof over the garage. And that has to do with the depth of your section view. See here, this is the depth. And grab it here between those two arrows and drag it and just basically stop it short of like slow here. If I'm close to here, it will actually cut through that roof above that porch. So just bring it away from it and look it up. Check it out. Here it is. There's nothing here beyond. That kind of like looks like this. And you will see here later on, we will add all the details that we have to have. A lot of these components, with the exception, of course, with what we have here, I don't have a floor. I don't have a floor for the first floor, the 2x10s, and I don't have the concrete slab for the basement. That actually will be modeled. But beyond that, the bottom plate of the stud walls and the rim board, we actually need to add that later on in the detail, in the components. So under the annotate and in here, you will actually have the component, the detail component, and it shows you here when I just leave my mouse, my cursor on it, give you an example of actually anchor bolts, and as you can see also here that the sill plate and whatnot, or the bottom plate of the walls. So with that said, let's actually go back to my foundation. I'm going to start with adding my concrete floor into my basement level. So I open my top of footing. Remember, that's where we actually added our foundation walls in that level. Our top of footing, that's where we build our walls on top of that. So the bottom was a 0, which is the top of footing, that level, and then we went up 8 feet. And all that reference, basically to be consistent, I'm going to start from there. So how do we add floors? As we practiced in the class, you go to the architectural tab, you go to the floor option here, you click that arrow, architectural. And if it is not, it came into the 4 inches floor, concrete slab 4 inches. If it is not, just basically select it. And in here, I wanted to offset it because this is a stacked wall. See here, it says stacked wall, 8 inches concrete with 2x8. Typically, the core part is a little bit unknown to Revit because it is not one wall. So it will go to the center of that stack. And we don't want that. We don't want that to be the case. So I want to offset it 4 inches to be on the inside. The concrete actually goes in the inside. And then in here, I want to make my level again top of footing. And then I want to offset it 4 inches. The concrete slab is 4 inches above, the footings. So the top of the slab is 4 inches above the top of the footing. Everything is from the top. Everything is measured or referenced from the top. So with that said, here we go, 4 inches and 4 inches top of footing. If you just bring it here and you click, you will see that magenta line coming up, and just click on these walls for the basement, just like you see it here, and in here, and in here, and in here. Now, if I click OK or the yes here, the finish edit, it's going to give me an error because this is not, here we go, it says here that lines cannot intersect. So I can see here that this actually basically intersected, so I need to adjust that. So escape, or you can do this here, and of course you can adjust it many ways. You can just click on it and move it here, drag it, and basically make them connect. Or if you want to do a line, I want to actually align, here's my reference line here, and I want to align this back to it. Here's my reference line, I want to align this back. Whatever actually you can, understand and you like. And here is, again, there's another one. And this guy here is not actually doing that, so I'm going to do it manually. And drag it, and just make sure that they are meeting exactly at the point. There is no overlaps, like intersecting like this, and there is no shorts. Here we go. I'm cleaning this up as we are talking about it. Let me do it again in here. Oops, I didn't do it correctly. Again, I'm just going to take it. And you can see, just clean that up, extend or trim in any method that you feel comfortable with. We can use all of this, extend and trim or align, and I understand that sometimes, of course, with align, the might be confusing. So again, it doesn't really matter how you get there as long as you get there. So I'm here, I'm going to see, it's not letting me here. And hopefully that would work. And then I will do the check mark in here, and it's going to give you this message that the floors, roof overlap the highlighted walls. Would you like to join the geometry and overlapping? In this instance, actually, we don't want that. This happens that if you drew your walls and basically you want the floor to offset these walls automatically by cutting them, that's what you do, but we did all that manually, appropriately more so. So long story short, say no, and basically that's your floor. Now if I go to my section, here it is. I just added this part in here. Again, let's continue with my floor. So I'm going to go to the floor plan. Again, go to floors, architectural. Of course, it's going to default to the last floor used. I'm going to look for my 2x10 wood joist with 3/4 OSB, oriented strand board. Remember, in your assignment, I gave you all of these in here. Under the section part, it says that you need to add 4 inches concrete floor to the basement and 10 inches floor in the first floor, and here's the description. So with that, I'm going to move this out of the way here. And the same idea, now I have my walls. I need to make sure that, first of all, my level is my first floor level, and there is no offset. The top of the floor will be exactly at the first floor level, and there is no offset. I would like it to be right to the core, extend to the core of the wall, meaning that it needs to align with my OSB outside. And here I can actually do this. And in this case here, if I use my tab, it might help, maybe not. It's not actually working for me, so I'm just going to click on this here, and these are the walls that my floor will be at. Now I'm looking at it here, and it did not actually go to the outside of the core, maybe because I did not select it appropriately. That could be a possibility. So in here I am going to do this and actually move this to the outside core right here, and click this guy, and here it is, the outside core, and which is the OSB. Here it is, and I will do that everywhere here because this is a stacked wall. It kind of like didn't know where to go, so I need to actually bring it to my here it is. This is the stone in here. This is the OSB, and actually this is the siding. Sorry, here's the OSB line in here, and I check the corners. I'm fine in here, and I am going to check the other end here fast, and here is. I need to modify this guy, and this one is way off. It went all the way to here, which is fine. But then here, actually, this guy is going to be all the way to the drywall, the same thing as this guy in here, all the way to the drywall. So the floor is flush with the drywall, and that's basically the measurements we had. And of course, if it is flush with the studs, that's fine too. You can actually do that, and some people will have that as basically the drywall will go all the way down, covering the rim board in the garage area. Minor detail, it's not going to matter actually for your project, but just an FYI, if that's something that you need to think about. So with that said, another check here, all looks good, and I'm going to say check here. We're going to get the same message. Would you like walls that go up to this floor? Attach, and you want to say no. And then basically talks about the overlapping. You want to cut the geometry? No, I don't want to cut the geometry. And then how do I check it? I go to my section in here, and pretty much it should be right here. So look at this here. I forgot to do something. What did I forget? I forgot to change my level. So it actually was at the truss. So it puts the floor at the truss. Not a big deal. All I have to do is just change it here to the first floor, and boom, here it is. And if I change it to the shaded, you actually will see it maybe a little bit better, showing the OSB in that lumber look. And here's the 2x10s. And that's basically, now we have those floors. You can do the same thing for the garage. Just make sure you look at the offset. If you reference it from the top of the foundation, it is 1 foot from, below the top of the foundation. So it's minus 1 foot. So let's do this quickly here. I can go back to my floor plan and do my floors. And in this case here, I am going to do the 4 inches concrete. Go back to the 4 inches concrete. And here it is. And it says the trusses. Nope, I'm going to make it the top of the foundation, which is right here. And I'm going to offset it 1 foot. And click in here, click in here, click in here, and also click into here. And I am going to connect these lines. This is the line. You can see the line of the block or the foundation. Sorry, for the foundation, the concrete foundation. We have concrete foundation, not a block foundation in here. And in here, the same thing. I'm going to move it actually to here, because that's where that concrete will sit at, and the same thing for here. So it's actually 8 inches inside, and we can say okay and say no and no, and now we have a floor. I don't have a section, but I can create a section, or I can do this here and look at it from here. But of course, why not have a section? So on my floor plan in here, I'm going to go to the view and do a section call out, and here it is, and look at my section 2 and see what it looks like, and here it is. And I can change my medium and change this to the shaded just to see it, and here it is. I can double check, see all my levels are correct by doing a quick dimensioning here, and here it is, and it's 1 foot. And that's basically what this guy is telling us, is that the way it was is that the top of the floor in the garage is 1 foot below the top of my foundation walls. So this guy is okay, and we actually have it done. We can work with this part here by looking at the cropping part. I can crop this just like that in here, and the same thing also in here. I can crop it and even stop it here if I like, just like to see here. We did not have anything. Again, it's a typical, but yes, we have that floor, that roof, I mean. So we can also add that part and be able to also select my depth of my view in the floor plan in here and change it to something, or even move the whole thing even back to here. That would probably be more appropriate, and look at it again and see what it looks like, and here it is. That's actually pretty good for us, what we want to do. So with that actually finishes up adding the sections and adding the concrete floor in the garage and the concrete floor in the basement and the 2x10 floor in the first floor.